Good morning, YouTube. We are pulling up to the machine shop as we speak. I've got the block loaded up back there in the back of the bed, and here's the machine shop. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff unloaded for these guys, let them run through it this week. Hopefully I can get it back by the end of the week. If not, we'll look towards next week to start reassembling this guy. Let's go ahead and drop this guy off real quick and see what's up. All right, guys, block is dropped off. Crank's in the house there, and hopefully we'll see her in the next couple days. Now I've got to head into work. Just pulled up the National Carb. Got my carburetor back from these guys. This thing is all freshened up. Once we get back to the shop, I'll open her up and check her out for you guys. So there we go. We got the 4-barrel all cleaned up. Got her ran through. Fresh rebuild, fresh coat of paint. They also supplied some awesome gaskets for me in here. So we got gaskets ready to rock and roll. The carb's ready to rock and roll. Next is to send the intake manifold itself over to powder. I've got to get this thing stripped down and brought over to my buddy Tim, and then we can get that cleaned up. As soon as I hear back from the machine shop, we will run down and grab the block from those guys. The hurricane's gonna kind of slow us down this week. I don't know if these guys are gonna be closing. And let's flip the camera around. I'll show you guys what's going on. It really just skimmed by Jacksonville. We are literally just getting the outer bands of the actual hurricane. It's really nothing crazy out here. You can see, you know, all the debris and stuff that's kind of blown around overnight, but boat just fine, the truck's just fine. I moved the Jeep into the driveway to make sure that it didn't get crushed by a tree, but it made it out just fine. So for those of you that were curious about the east coast side of Florida, we're all good in the hood. I think the west coast of Florida up into Georgia, they got it the worst. So hopefully everyone is safe over there. Now I got to get back to work, guys. It seems to be the thing with my videos. I got a ton of stuff knocked out. Gotta cut down all of these guys, 180 of them, 10.5 inches, and then knock all the galv coating off of it. And I've got all of these guys, those are already notched. These ones need to be notched the rest of the way, but they're just making simple little 4-ways for a tunnel. So let me get back to that, and hopefully I can check in with you guys within the next few days, so that way we can start getting this assembled, cleaned up, and then obviously start ripping into the boat floors. Not very excited to do that, but it needs to be done, and I'm not gonna procrastinate on that nonsense. So I'll see you guys in a couple days. It's been about a week or so since I've last updated the video, and that's when I dropped off the block. I'm actually on my way back from my customer's place right now. I just dropped off their car. I don't know if you can see my car trailer behind me, but I got caught up with a few jobs, and it kind of worked out for the better because the machine shop called me, I want to say it was this past Tuesday, and they let me know that unfortunately the crank was going to need grinding because it was in rough shape. And I don't know if it was in rough shape as far as the mains go or where the rod goes, you know, the rod bearings themselves. So I'm on my way up to the machine shop right now. Hopefully I can get through the traffic here in Jacksonville because it's coming up on, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock on a Friday, so it's about to be a madhouse. But we're running down there now, and hopefully we can grab this block and get it into the shop, get it up on the engine stand, and start figuring out what we're going to do about getting this guy assembled, because I'm going to have to order a oil pump. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to see if they have rings up there and see if they have any bearings at the machine shop that I can purchase, and that should alleviate a lot of that headache. But I'll see you guys up there at the machine shop. We just got here just in time. Just got the short block loaded up back there. Got my bearings, main bearings and rod bearings. The only thing I got to get is some piston rings, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. So when I get back to the shop, I'll show you guys the block. Alright, see how badly I shit myself here. Oh, not bad. I thought for sure I was gonna hurt myself. But would you look at that? Would you just look at it? A fresh Merc Cruiser block, boys. I did forget to talk about the crankshaft to you guys when I was picking up the block. I obviously got this at the same time. Unfortunately, we did have to do some grinding on it, and that was my main concern. So now we've got some oversized bearings by 10 thou, and they were able to provide that for me, which is freaking awesome. It saves me the time and saves me the headache of having to search online. So these guys will be ready to go to get slapped back in with that crankshaft. As far as the block goes, I had them do new freeze plugs, hot tank the block, clean up the crank journal, clean up the cam journal, put new cam bearings in there, and that's really it. I'm going to do my own honing from the bottom side. I'll pull the main caps out, throw a flex hone in there, give the cylinder wall some cross hatches, and then like I said earlier, we'll grab some piston rings for the piston. I'll have to get an oil pump because I've got the old oil pump hanging out here. It was in the way when I was doing some stuff in the shop. I actually had a Civic that was in here, and then I had some other stuff that was in the front of the shop on my table. So it was kind of a mess earlier, so I just kind of threw that out there. But I'll need to get a new oil pump, new set of rings, and then I'll have to do some lifters. I need some new lifters because I'm not going to put those old raggedy lifters back in there, especially with the condition of the motor. The guy at the machine shop, he already knew. I mean, you know, I told him that it was a Mercury engine or a Merc Cruiser engine, and you know, just from the condition, they knew that either it had a weeping head gasket where the you know, the water was mixing into the oil, or that it actually sat out and moisture got down into the block. But they said the block itself is pretty solid. There's no cracks, there's no damages or anything to it, so that makes me feel much better. We're gonna get these piston rings cleaned up. I know I'm talking a lot, I feel bad, but I'm just bringing you guys up to speed on everything. Got to get these pistons and these connecting rods all cleaned up, and then obviously pop off the old piston rings and just do the best that I can, you know, cleaning this stuff up, so that way we're not throwing crusty stuff back in here. And that's really it. We'll get this guy reassembled, and next thing on the list, once this guy's almost complete, is starting to rip into the floors like I talked about earlier in the video. So we'll do one step at a time here, one step at a time. That's all that I really have for you guys right now. I'm going to order some parts over the weekend. If they show up sometime next week, I will fill you guys in, and I guess if they don't, I will also fill you guys in. This video is only like 7 minutes long right now, or 8 minutes long, so I want to add a little more content to it before I upload. And when we go to throw the engine together, that I'll make that a whole different or a whole separate video. So that's really that, guys. I will check in with you guys in the next few days. Okay guys, it's been a few days. Unfortunately, the parts have not arrived yet. We're still playing the waiting game. I think the last thing that has yet to ship off are the lifters. So in the meantime, I'm cleaning up my intake manifold and both of my risers. I was watching a no nonsense know-how video. Shout out to Chris if he's watching this video. I highly doubt it, but love your channel, bro. Anyways, I had noticed in one of his videos that he was doing, I can't remember if it was the Suburban that he had out in Arizona or Nevada or wherever it was, but on their intake manifold that he was checking out, it actually had pitted and corroded through the water jacket in here. So what I did was just chased everything out with a wire wheel, and it actually, for him, cracked right here in this back area. I think there was a pinhole here and a pinhole here, and then after he got that stuff cleaned up, I think he ended up finding another pinhole that was further down. So I wanted to clean this all out and check that all out to make sure that I didn't have any cracks or damages or anything that was starting to corrode through on the intake manifold before I sent it to powder. But everything's been removed, stripped off. Both of these guys are loosened up, and that's ready to rock and roll. As far as the manifolds go, I'm getting these guys cleaned up because I know I'm going to need some riser gaskets, so I might as well split them. I've got the hardware out, as you guys can see here, but she is not letting go, so we're going to do some convincing on this guy and try to get this split off, and then we'll throw the second manifold up here, get that split up, and that's really it. I'm going to have this powder coated, but I'm going to paint these guys just because manifolds and risers are really supposed to be replaced, like, people say every, 6-7 years. I've seen guys say that they've ran theirs for 10 years, 15 years. I don't know if these are original. I'm going to assume that they are original, and I'm going to run them. Send it, right? Whatever. It doesn't look like they have any cracks in them. Doesn't look like they have any damages. I'm going to split them up and see what they look like internally, and then we can go from there. So let's get to that. All right, guys. I'm going to put you on this little mount here. Hopefully, one, you can hear me, and two, you guys don't move around too much. Basically, I'm trying to get this riser split off this manifold. She does not want to let go. So we're having to do a little convincing here. Sprayed some PB Blaster in here. Might have to take a little heat to it. I don't want to damage the gasket surfaces or the mating surfaces in between these guys. And I was really trying to save my old gasket so that way I could use it to compare for a new one, but I don't know if that's going to be happening for me. There it goes. Boy, is she hanging on for dear life. Woo, guys, finally we won. She put up a fight for that. Cool. Alright, let me show you guys what I was referring to real quick. Alright, so I just hit it a little bit with my pad there, my Scotch-Brite pad. You can see there's a little bit of damaging right here. And that's exactly where I was tapping it at. As you guys can see on the gasket, obviously, that's where I was able to break it free. But she did not want to let go. Oh, look at that. Florida, raining again. No surprise. But we got one apart. I'm going to clean this guy up to the best of my ability. Like, see? All that right there. Oops, sorry, couldn't see it. That right there. That's what I was worried about. That right there. I know these are casted, and I could probably build them up a little bit with some weld and then knock them flush. But I guess we'll find out when that time comes. Gosh, that sucks. Manifolds and risers are not cheap, so I guess we'll see what this leads to. So disregard that last clip there. It actually came out pretty unscathed. Now, a lot of boat mechanics are probably freaking roasting me right now, but there was an RTV or some sort of sealant that was holding the actual metal gasket, this gasket here, in place. So that's what I had chipped off. I knocked that section off, so they actually came out to be in somewhat good condition. You guys can see here. No damages. Anyways, back to the video. I think you guys might get a kick out of this one. I've yet to blow it out. All kind of acorn chunks. Look, I'll show you in the office real quick. This is where I had the risers hanging out. Look at this. There was definitely a squirrel living in that. Those exhaust pipes. He was living in one, like I said in the other video, and he had his food storage in the other. Bastards. Alright, I'm gonna vacuum all this up. It's gonna be loud. Alright, I'm gonna set you guys back up. I'm gonna blow this out one more time. It gets loud when the air compressor kicks on and the vacuum running, so let me clean this out and then we'll pull this one apart. Ooh, almost lost it. Sheesh. They put up some fights, I'll tell you that much. So this set of risers and manifolds came apart just like the other one. Put up a little bit of a fight, but we got her popped off. Got the gasket out of the way. And like I talked about earlier, here's that other gasket that I was referring to. I was really worried because it was really gray rather than being black and peeling up like this one is. I was worried that I took out some of the casting on the actual manifold. Luckily, we're good though. I definitely feel like I've gotten a good amount of content for you guys in this video, but before I wrap it up, I wanted to explain to you guys how these manifolds and risers work. Now, I'm not a boat mechanic. This is my first boat. I've done tons of research, watched tons of videos, gone through all the diagrams on Merc Cruiser, been digging through the formula forms, the Merc Cruiser forms, all of that good stuff. And what fascinates me the most out of all of this is how the water is drawn up from the impeller all the way up to the engine, and then the water pump is cycling that water, that raw water, through the engine, and then it's pushed through this hose up into a water jacket that's actually on the outside of this manifold. So there's the manifold where the exhaust comes out, the exhaust gets pushed up through here into this, and then it's pushed out. But at the same time, water is being cycled into the jackets that are coming up on the outside of the manifold, up through what they call a riser. This is your riser. And then if you look on the inside, right in there, those are two water jackets. Kind of tough for you to see, hold on. There you go. Those are water jackets there, and what they do is push the water out of the exhaust, and that's how the water and the exhaust meet coming out of the tailpipe or your prop inside of your boat. So I thought that was pretty cool. I just wanted to explain that to you guys while I'm taking them apart, just in case you didn't know how they work or what they look like. That is about all that I have for today's video, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. As soon as those lifters get shipped and I get all those parts, we'll start assembling the short block. I'll make that a whole separate video, and that'll probably end up being a two-part series, me assembling that engine. And then from there, like I talked about, yet again, we'll move to knocking out the floors in the boat. Once that's all done and the bilge is all patched up and cleaned up, we can swing that guy in there, drop it in there, and be good to go. So thank you again for watching, guys. I will catch you on the next one. Later.